Hey guys, it's Scott with Scotty B Cards, and in this video I want to look at the long-term collectability of the top 20 players in Major League Baseball. Alright, like I said in the intro to this video, we're going to be looking at the collectability for the long term. We're looking like 10, 20 years in the future, not looking at like the next 2 to 3 years, but the long term of these players, and we're going to see which ones are the best buys for the future, in my opinion. This is all very opinion based off of my view and my outlook on these players, so you might differ, and that's okay. If you do, let me know which players you disagree on in the comments so we can discuss that civilly. But overall, the list I'm going to be sharing is Major League Baseball's list. I am not saying these are the top 20 players. Major League Baseball is saying these are the top 20 players. Make sure you remember that so you don't say, Scott, why did you forget X player? I did not forget X player. I said the players that Major League Baseball said they forgot that player. All right, let's jump into this. I have numbers 25 through 21 on the screen now. I wanted to go over them, but I wanted to keep this video timely and not take too much, so that's where I have those players ranked. At number 20 and number 19, they have two similar players in my opinion. They profile slightly different, but both are more offensive first third baseman. Those players are Austin Riley and Rafael Devers. They are both Bs in my opinion. Both of those players are very good players. And being a B for the long term is a good thing. It doesn't mean that they're bad players at all. A bad player would be an F, but they are Bs in my opinion just because they are so offensive first. Their defense for both players isn't fantastic. I think Austin Riley might be slightly better from what I've heard from Braves fans. But either way, both players play for teams that are collectible. Both teams have great offensive profiles. They have similar numbers through the same age, and they're heading into the age 26 season where they'll both have big years, but only about 15 WAR apiece. So they got to do a lot more to even have a chance at the Hall of Fame and long-term collectability. At number 18, I have a controversial player, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Some people think he's terrible. Some people think he's great. I think he's a B+ player. I think he's going to have a good year this year. This last year, he had a down year after his MVP runner-up season to Shohei Ohtani in 2021. And that's probably because he was playing most of his home games at the time in minor league ballparks, as they hadn't gone back to Canada until halfway through the season. And for that purpose, he always has struggled hitting in Toronto. The catch is, though, they moved the fences in the Rogers Center, which I think will help Vlad. And I think he'll have a good year overall. I still believe him. I think he's like 23 years old, extremely young, already has an MVP runner-up. I think B+ is a great place for him, and he won a Gold Glove last year, so go Vlad. At number 17, we have Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper is unique. He's going to be probably one of the most remembered players of the last 20 or 30 years, simply because he just is so exciting. He's so controversial. He is willing to say whatever he wants, and on top of that, he's a good ball player. 2 MVPs, OPS plus around 140, and on top of that, took the Phillies to the World Series this last year. That doesn't really affect me too much as my long-term outlook. People will probably forget that, but right now, people love that about him. Only thing with Bryce Harper is he's missed quite a bit of time the last few years with his elbow injury, and hopefully he can come back quickly this year so he doesn't miss too much of his age 30 season. But I have Bryce Harper as an A. I think he'll be collected for a very long time. At number 16 of Julio Rodriguez, what can you say about him? He's a 5-tool player. He has Gold Glove caliber defense. He has an OPS plus around 150, and on top of that, he was a rookie last year, age 21. So a 6 WAR season in his age 21 rookie season is pretty impressive. I think he will build on that, and I think A- is a good spot for him right now. At number 15 and number 14, we have Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer. I want to talk about them together because they're basically the same. They are A-tier players. They're already Hall of Famers. They're already collected. They're going to be collectible. They have few rookies each, and on top of that, they're just kind of older at this point, and so it's not really a risk saying A for them. So I don't want to dive too much into their stats. They both have 3,000 strikeouts. They're both great. So good job, those two. At number 13, we have Sandy Alcantara. He's a little bit different of a story because there's not many pitchers in Major League Baseball right now under the age of 30 or even 35 that are good buys that we just know are a good buy. We knew Clayton Kershaw was under the age of 30 when he was already so dominant. We knew Justin Verlander had a good shot. Max Scherzer at the time wasn't necessarily a good buy till he got older. But either way, there's just not many locks for pitchers. It's unique because pitchers are coddled more than ever. But with Sandy, he had such a good season last year. He had so many innings pitched with amazing stats. And if he can replicate that this year, he'll go from B, where I have him, to B+ or even A- because he'll be one of the few pitchers that might be worth looking at. At number 12, we have Juan Soto. Juan Soto, I have him as an A. That might be weird just because he had a down season this last year, but his track record is amazing, and he's only 24. Has a World Series already at this age, has a batting title at this age. He was an MVP runner-up, All-Star, Silver Slugger, all this already. He had a down season this last year, but his down season, even though he hit 240, was still like a 6 WAR season with an OPS plus around 155 to 160. So he's going to be good. He's going to find a way to get on base. He's going to find a way to just be Juan Soto. His floor and his ceiling are both really high. I like that as a collector and investor on a player. And again, only 24. A majority of baseball rookies are actually older than Juan Soto, and he's been in the league since 2018, which is about 5 years now. At number 11, we have Trey Turner. I am not that high on Trey Turner myself, just because he's 30 years old with less than 30 WAR, which is tough. It's tough with a speed guy who's a shortstop who's going to probably slow down defensively and on the base paths as he ages. Unless he has a few big seasons, like 2 or 3 7 WAR seasons, he won't have the necessary stats to make the Hall of Fame. And he's switched teams so many times, I have a hard time thinking people really will want to collect him, like Nationals fans or Phillies fans or even Dodgers fans. So for that purpose, I think B is fair for Trey Turner. At number 10, we have Freddie Freeman. Freddie Freeman really had his best season this last year outside of his 2020 MVP season, and I think he's only going to get better with age. He actually was benefited a little bit by the shift. I know that sounds crazy, but Freddie was really good about poking the ball the other way, especially as like a last resort type swing, and I wanted to see how this affects him. A lot of articles are speculating it actually might hurt his batting average a little bit. I don't know about that necessarily. His floor and ceiling are also really high. Not as high as Juan Soto, but still a very good ball player and a very good purchase. At number 9, we have Yordan Alvarez. Yordan Alvarez, I'm not saying I was sleeping on Yordan, but I just didn't want to put money into him because he has so many rookie cards in 2020, but I think I'm probably going to at this point because he is awesome. There is injury concern with his knees, but overall, I think Yordan is a B+ player. And the reason I don't think he's any higher is just because he's a little bit younger as well, and he's more restricted to a DH or to left field. And if he's able to become a better left fielder, his ceiling is significantly higher. And if he can prove that he has longevity, it helps his ceiling even more. So Yordan, World Series champion. That home run he had in the World Series was insane. I think B+ is a good spot now, but I wouldn't be surprised with 2 or 3 more good years he's an A- or an A player. At number 8, we have Jose Ramirez. Jose Ramirez is hard for me to rank because I like him, I collect him, but realistically, he still has a lot of work to do to get to the Hall of Fame. He is a Guardian fan favorite, and that is solidified, especially because he signed a contract to stay with them at a discounted rate. His numbers are amazing. He's been top 6 MVP votes 5 of the last 6 years. His peak of his career is amazing, but the first part was really not good. So for that reason, I'm as a B+, but literally one more top 10 MVP season, I think he's going to be an A-, just because he's proving that he has a Hall of Fame resume. He actually has about the same amount of WAR as Bryce Harper at almost the exact same age. He has 41, Bryce Harper has 42, both heading to their age 30 season. And I have to imagine Jose Ramirez actually passed Bryce Harper because Bryce Harper's missing roughly the first half due to Tommy John surgery. At number 7, we have National League MVP Paul Goldschmidt. I personally think he solidified his Hall of Fame case with that MVP. He's been really good. People don't understand how good Paul Goldschmidt is. His OPS plus for his career is over 140. He has been top 10 MVP voting 6 years of his career and top 5 4 years of his career. Overall, amazing ball player. Paul Goldschmidt, I think he's an A-. I think he's a Hall of Famer. At number 6, we have Nolan Arenado, 10 Gold Gloves, over 5 Silver Sluggers, and he had his best year of his entire career this last year, over 7 WAR. And even though he is getting a little bit older, I think that he's pulling the ball even more, figuring out who he is offensively, and that's okay. His baseball savant numbers don't really say he's amazing, but he does so well with what he does. I think he'll age really well with St. Louis. For that reason, I am going to put Nolan Arenado in the A tier. At number 5, we have Manny Machado. I have him as an A- player. I think him and Nolan are close, but Nolan just seems to have more collectability. And I personally just like Nolan Arenado more because I'm a Rockies fan. So I just think because he's more collectible and because he's with the Cardinals, I think it's going to help his values in the long term. And we need to see how Manny Machado is going to keep playing. He actually had one of his best years this last year as well. And he's been a different player since coming to the Padres. And if he can hold that up, I have no doubt he'll be an A tier player as well soon. At number 4, I have Mookie Betts. He has 56 WAR at age 29. Heading to his age 30 season, he'll probably cross 60 WAR, which is insane. Probably end up with around 80 to 90 WAR, which is top 50 all time. I am as an A tier player, the second or third best player of this generation behind a few players we'll discuss in a moment. At number 3, I have Mike Trout. That might surprise you. Mike Trout is number 3 on their list, but he is just because he has had a down couple years, even though he's had MVP votes in each of them. Mike Trout's really good, plain and simple. I have him as an A+ player, one of the few we're going to see on this list. Not much more to say besides he's going to get probably 90 WAR this season if he can just stay healthy. At number 2, we have Aaron Judge for the Yankees. I had him not very high before. That's just because he debuted so old, and outside of his rookie year where he was amazing, he never had an extremely dominant year. And then this last year, he had an extremely dominant year. One of the best offensive years we've ever seen. He had an OPS plus of 211, an OPS of 1.111, and he had 63 home runs. Pretty dang good for Aaron Judge. I have him as an A- right now, only because he's at 37 WAR heading to his age 31 season. But either way, now that he has had that record-breaking year, he'll always have a place with the Yankees collectors. And for that reason, Aaron Judge I have as an A-, but probably will be an A after this season. And the number 1, we have Shohei Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani, I have him as an A+. And the reason I say that's going to take a chance on him. If he can stay healthy, has 2 more good years, his cards are going to be immortalized and collected forever. Even though his WAR numbers aren't high yet, what he's doing is transcendent. And on top of that, he's going to be collected for a long time. I have 0 Ohtani rookie cards, and I probably won't buy much because they're so expensive. But if he can stay healthy, he is an A+ player for the long term. It will be discussed 100 years down the road. So anyways, those are my top 20 player rankings. Let me know what you agree and disagree with. And other than that, I will see you in the next video.